Hello there everyone, Ashnflash here. Today we are going to be taking a look at every single LEGO Iron Man figure that I have in my collection. And the reason I'm saying my collection is because there's actually two that I'm missing. The one, of course, that probably a very small amount of people have is the Toy Fair exclusive comic book Iron Man suit, as well as the other suit that I'm missing is actually the Mark 43 from the Ultimate Collector's Hulkbuster set. And I think that that is just a super overpriced set. And the figure, I already have a great Mark 43 right there. So why would I spend the money on some set that I don't want? Because I don't like sets that are not minifigure scale, especially when it comes to mechs and stuff like that. To me, just I have no interest in it. So yeah, that is one of the few Marvel sets that I'm actually missing out on, and one of the few Marvel figures that I'm actually missing. But to me, there's really slight little difference in the suit, and I don't care for it, so I'm happy with mine. And in front of you, you'll actually notice that this is actually the Hall of Armor set, and I've bought two of them, and I've been able to stack two on top of each other. I had to do some modifications because the way that you build the original one would mess up the middle panel for the suits. So yeah, there is a few modifications that I had to make. Obviously, as well, you don't get enough pieces to put like the silver parts there and there on the end, so it isn't perfect, but I would like to do a video on it at some point. You'll also notice that you get 9 suits on the top and 9 suits at the bottom. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at all of the Tony Stark figures that I have in the collection, as well as all the Iron Man ones. So we're not looking at War Machine. Also, I won't be taking a look at the Igor suit because it's not a figure, and I don't think that it belongs in this video, just like the Hulkbuster armor, which is actually the Mark 44. So it would be in between here. So again, it doesn't make sense to include it in this video, so maybe we'll take a look at them in some other video. But anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and let's take a look at each Tony Stark figure and then each Iron Man figure. Here is the first ever Tony Stark figure that we got in LEGO form. He has his third version of his arc reactor here on his torso. And this is actually from the Iron Man 3 line of sets from the Malibu Mansion attack set. And there isn't really too much going on besides that amazing printing that you get on the torso. If you keep turning him, you'll see that it actually has some cool printing on the back as well. His goatee is unfortunately showing because his hairpiece doesn't cover it all, so I don't really like that. But this is kind of a rare face print because this face print only came in the Iron Man 3 wave of sets. So I do really like that. It was something new that we hadn't gotten before, with him smiling, and of course with him scared, or I guess screaming when the house is being blown up, or however you want to use that. This is probably one of the more rare face prints for Tony Stark. We're going to be taking a look at all of the figures in chronological order that they appear in the movies or off screen, but this is actually Tony Stark from either the Avengers, or if you're like me and you believe that this is actually from Age of Ultron, this is him from there. Anyways, this is a new Tony Stark. This is the one that came in the Avengers Tower promotion that you can get right now with spending $75 on Marvel purchases. And like I looked at in that video, it's a really cool figure. Regardless of all the problems that I have with the set in terms of like when it's supposed to take place and all that, it's a great looking figure. I love the torso printing there. And if you keep turning it around, that has some awesome torso printing on the back. He has the spiky hair, which is actually what Tony Stark uses in another version of him. So I do prefer this over the Mutt Williams hair in dark brown, which is what the other Tony Stark has. And if you just look at that, this is actually one of the best printing, I would say, for the head that I have of this version of Tony Stark that has the heads up display on the back. And this print is actually from the Infinity War wave of sets. When I'm looking at the Iron Man suits, I'm just going to mention what Iron Man suit has what face print so that you can look, so I don't have to go over it each time. Anyways, that's it for this figure. Let's move on to the final version of Tony Stark that I have. Here is Tony Stark from Avengers Infinity War from the Bricktober pack, and this is him in his tracksuit that you see, I guess, throughout the movie. And it's very interesting. He actually has an exclusive face print here, and it probably has some of the best printing that we have ever gotten on Marvel figures. Look at the arm printing there. It just looks really awesome with the camo effect that he's got going on. And with the lines and everything on his torso, it just looks fantastic. And the printing on the back as well looks really awesome with the camo continued on, and with the hood and everything, it just looks really great. He has this exclusive face print on the front, as well as a new scared or, yeah, frightened expression on the back. Again, exclusive to the set, so I'm not really sure which is more exclusive or rare, if it's this version of Tony Stark or if it's the version from the Avengers Tower, but I'm pretty sure it's this one. And this is probably the better one anyways because of the prints and everything. It just looks really great, and you get an exclusive face print. Here is the Mark I suit from the Iron Man Hall of Armor set, and it has some amazing printing on that. Look at all of the detail, all the dirt and grime on that torso and legs. It just looks so great. Definitely one of the best figures. He is using one of the newer Iron Man helmet pieces designed that we'll take a look at later with the non-MCU versions. And if you look at the back, it has some awesome printing with Stark Industries you could see on the back there, with like the fuel and everything that powers the suit, because this is one of the older ones and helps it fly. And that face helmet printing, the facial slit and everything, it just looks really awesome. Underneath, you've just got a transparent head, nothing special. Next, we've got the Mark V, and we're going to skip ahead a little bit. Unfortunately, we don't have the Mark II, the Mark III, or the Mark IV, so here's what we've got next in order. And it has some awesome back printing there, as well as some beautiful printing on the front. This is one of my favorite MCU armors as well, from one of my favorite scenes in the entire MCU. I just love that whole fight with Whiplash and Happy and Pepper in the car. It's just a great scene, I think. It has an exclusive printing on the helmet there with some rare silver printing. And if you flip it up, you've got the transparent head underneath. But overall, really great. It could have been better with some leg printing on the side and some arm printing. But that's super rare with Marvel figures, so we'll take a look at that later. But we're not going to move on without looking at the suitcase that also came in the Malibu Mansion Attack set. And this is just a gray suitcase with a sticker on each side of it to represent this suit when it's in its compact suitcase form, which I really love and appreciate getting. Here is a look at the Mark VI suit, and this is actually from the Avengers wave of sets. And it has some very simplistic printing, but it is still super nostalgic, and I love this one a lot. But the leg printing is very weak. There's no foot printing or anything like that, and the torso print is meh. And if you look at the printing on the helmet, it's still, they were still trying to figure things out with Iron Man back then. But if you take, of course, I showed this off a little bit before, but you can flip up the face mask there to look underneath. While that's not actually how it works in the movies, it's still a pretty cool feature that LEGO included here. This is the last version of Tony Stark that we have to look at with the face printing. He has this normal kind of smirk going on, and this is the first ever Tony Stark printing that we ever got before. And on the back, he's got this anger expression. Again, this is a very common face that you'll see, that I'll mention being used in a lot of the other Iron Man suits. Here is the Mark VII fully assembled, if the other figure actually is the Mark VII. But anyways, he has the normal face print underneath the helmet, but I'm not going to take a look at it. Again, the leg printing and torso printing, they're very basic, but still pretty good for its time. I really love this figure especially. It just feels, it reminds me of a simpler time, I guess, of LEGO Marvel superheroes and everything. Also, I'm sure I'll get a lot of comments saying, there's actually this version that you don't have in your collection that's new and has a different helmet in the junior set. Yeah, I know, I didn't bother getting that set because I already had Loki and that Iron Man, and the build was just, it was a junior's build, so there was no point in me getting it. But yeah, supposedly there's some different version of the helmet or something in that set. Not really a point of me getting it because I have this one, so if you do want a cheap way to get it, that's probably your best bet. Here is the Iron Man Heartbreaker armor, and that it's actually Mark 17. And this is a really fantastic suit. And I don't know why specifically LEGO chose to put this one in the smallest set. It would have been cool if it was a different colored one. But regardless, like, this is one of, I think this is one of the first Iron Man suits to have the silver right there printed on the front helmet. Also, one of the only ones to have some printed hot rod red. I know it's not that, it's actually maroon or dark red, but to have it printed on the helmet there, that's awesome. This is actually the first one though that has different colored eyes, which is really cool as well. The printing here just looks really awesome, and I love what they did with the arc reactor. having it different colored blues and everything, it just helps like add to the aesthetic here. Also, look at that feet printing. I think this is just, it's a really well-made figure, and definitely one of my favorites. It has the angry, regular Tony Stark face underneath, and yeah, this is, it has some really nice printing, and honestly, I love getting different colored suits and different things like that. So getting the Heartbreaker armor here, he does mention it once in the movie. I think he says like, Red Snapper, go help Heartbreaker out or whatever. So it's cool to get. It's a little offhand reference, and not sure again why this suit, but awesome to get. Here is the Silver Centurion armor, and this is, again, this is probably the best Iron Man figure that we've ever had to date in terms of printing. Just look at that arm printing right there. Just, man, just like this figure just goes, they pull out all the stops for this figure. Look at the leg printing there. Imagine if every Iron Man figure came with leg printing on the side. Oh, it's really fantastic, and you're getting some really cool builds here. I believe that this armor is from Galaxy Squad. I think that's what it was called, right? Galaxy Squad or whatever it was called. So it's interesting to see it being reused here in silver and dark red. Beautiful face print. Like, look at that awesome smirk that you get there. And if you turn it around, he's got like a bruise on his face from the whole attack on the mansion, and a bunch of different scars and different things from him trying on the Mark 42. So I love it. I love the Silver Centurion armor Mark 33. You did skip a lot of suits, unfortunately, in between, but taking it off, you still have some amazing printing underneath. Look at that torso printing. Man, just definitely one of the best figures, I think. Oh, you've kind of forgotten about this. Like, it just looks really awesome. If you put the armor back on, you can see how it's kind of like the exact same printing next to each other, and then you just slide it on. It just adds some bulk to the figure, and I really like that a lot. It's really a great figure overall. Like, I think one of the best figures that have ever been made. No complaints here. Here is one of the most colorful Iron Man suits that we've ever gotten before, and this is actually the Scuba Suit, or the Hammerhead Suit, which is the Mark 37. And this is just, it's fantastically made figure. I love this one a lot. I love the bronze on it. Like, it looks fantastic. You also get this amazing printed arc reactor piece there on a transparent stud. And these are a little dusty because they are in the collection, and they're part of my collections. They don't really get too much action, but I do like the armor piece that is included here. And this is actually a piece introduced in the Hero Factory wave of sets, so it's super interesting to see them using it with this figure. But it works really well here, and honestly, I think this would work better for some of the Lex Luthor figures that we get. Even after taking the armor off, it just, such a well-made figure. Look at the printing there that just continues up. Again, love the bronze. It's pretty rare to get figures with bronze, so when you can, just, man, they just look fantastic. I wish LEGO would do that more often. And if you look on the back there, you've also got some like jet propellers printed on there, and it's just a fantastic figure. Definitely one of the best figures in all of Marvel superheroes history, I'd say. Maybe it has to do with the sand green, but I don't know. Just a great figure overall. Here is the Mark 39, and this is the space suit. Definitely one of my favorite figures. Also, the eye printing there just looks really cool with the blue with the white on the inside. They didn't really do that too often, but the printing here looks awesome. Look at the detail on those legs with the hexagons, if I recall my math skills. But yeah, I love the printing there. And if you look on the back as well, just some beautiful printing. This is one of my favorite suits, I think, of Iron Man, and to get it in minifigure form, I was just so ecstatic. So yeah, look at the printing on that torso. Again, get the regular Iron Man head underneath, but getting it in white, just really awesome, I think. Skipping over the Mark 40, the shotgun armor, I really love that one, but this is the Mark 41, the bone suit. Very similar in its function to the Mark 42. You do see it used in the movie, and it's awesome the way that it can split off into different parts, and I think it's really great. The printing here on this helmet, it's also very unique. We've never gotten anything like that so far, so it just looks really awesome. Underneath, you've got a trans-clear head because this is from the Iron Man Hall of Armor set. But the printing here that you're getting, look at the leg printing and the detail on that torso. My goodness, like, whew. just like I can't talk about these figures enough with the detailing. Like, it's just so amazing, and definitely unexpected to get this suit, but it's awesome. Hopefully we'll get some more suits, some more rare suits like this in the future. Here is the Mark 42, and again, we're going back now to 2013, before we had any printing and stuff like that on the helmet. So this is very basic, and the printing here is pretty cool though. This was one of my favorite Iron Man suits, I think, for a while. It's still really great. I love getting the gold hands there. I remember back then it was just so out of character with Lego, and I don't know, just this figure, man, really brings me back and to when that movie came out and when the sets came out, and I really love this one a lot. Underneath you get the Tony Stark with the smile and the scared face on the back, but with the foot printing there and everything, it looks really awesome. Overall, really great figure. One of the best suits, I think, in the MCU. Here is the Mark 43, which we talked a little bit about before, and there is two versions of this suit, one with like a bunch of more silver and stuff on the torso from the Ultimate Collector series, Hulkbuster Suit. I have no interest in that. Unfortunately, no foot printing here on the suit and no arm printing or anything like that, but it does look really cool. It is pretty common with the Avengers Age of Ultron line that this can be found in, and the helmet there is one of the first ones, like I said, with printing. And the back printing just looks awesome. Again, with all these Iron Man figures, they just, if they did like leg printing, like these would just be unstoppable in terms of like minifigure quality. It's interesting that the black bar there doesn't print across the eyes. I never really noticed that until looking at that now, so that's pretty cool. You do get some printing at the top to add some detail. And yeah, overall, really interesting figure. Not one of my favorites, definitely not one of my standout ones, but it is really good, and it was the first figure with the printing on the top, so that's pretty neat. Skipping over the Mark 44, which is actually the Hulkbuster suit that he fights off against the Hulk in Age of Ultron. This is the Mark 45, and this is the one from the end of Avengers Age of Ultron, and honestly, one of my favorites in the MCU, and definitely one of my favorite looking Lego figures. I don't know what it is, but just with the red printing on the torso and legs, it just helps add some detail on there that I think normally with the other Iron Man figures, when you're looking at some of the older ones, would just be just the dark red, so you don't get that kind of effect. Really like that. Also, I love the printing here on the helmet. Look at that. You've got some dark red showing underneath, some dark gunmetal gray, as well as gold. And overall, it just looks fantastic. The eye printing here, I never really noticed, but it's a little messy. This is a cheap set that this is in, so it could be because of that. But this is definitely one of my favorite suits, I think. I love the way it looks, and I'm really happy with it. Also, just the printing overall, I love the printing there. Here is the Mark 46 from Captain America Civil War, and he's using the Iron Man Mark 43 helmet there. Nothing new for the prints there, but the torso print and leg printing is new, and it looks super awesome. I love all the lights on this suit. Even in the movie, I think it looks really cool. Carries over onto the back as well. Looks really cool. This is one of the more rare figures because this came in an expensive set, so it is cool to have here. I forgot to mention this, but the last few figures that we looked at just have the regular Tony Stark head. And the reason I mention that is because I just got reminded that this has a transparent light blue head underneath, because this is when he's operating it, when he's not actually there in Spider-Man Homecoming. And this is a very interesting suit because of the silver that you get in it. I love the silver printing here. This looks awesome. It is very similar to the Mark 46. The printing here is almost identical, but it's in silver, so I never really noticed that before, but the leg printing is very different. But the torso printing is just the same, with the bottom in silver and with the hip in silver as well. If we flip it around, it's the same sort of thing, exact same printing as the Mark 46, just in silver. I'm not sure if that's actually accurate to the suits. I never really noticed that until now, but I do like the printing here. It could be dual molded, I think would work a lot better, but it does look really awesome to me with the printing on the legs, even if it isn't dual molded. Still really interesting figure, definitely a unique design, I think, with the silver underneath. Here is the Mark 50. So we did jump ahead 3 suits now. and the Mark 49 could be, the rumor is that it's a prototype for this suit, and the Mark 48 is the Hulkbuster that Bruce Banner uses in Infinity War, so I'm not quite sure, we don't really know, but you could really see the way that this one feels more organic, with like the nano lines, I think, on the back. At least that's what I think. Love the red again. I think that having the red on these figures just adds to the depth and like adds to the shine, I think, of the figures. The helmet printing here is very interesting as well, with the eyes being light blue and with some printing on the top there. And the head that is underneath is just the heads up display Tony Stark face. Very cool figure. Definitely one of the best, I think, out of all the Iron Man suits. From the Mark 50 to the Mark 85, we have the final suit that we've gotten from Lego, and this is actually the exact same helmet printing from the last suit. Quick glance, it looks very similar to the other suit, but it is very different with a lot of the detailing on the torso. I love this suit a lot, and it was definitely one of my favorites to see in the movie as well. And I like the leg printing there, and the beautiful torso printing, of course, carries over onto the back as well. Looks really awesome. The head that you get here is just the heads up display Tony Stark face. And I did a review of this, of course, and I've talked about the Quantum Realm suits over and over again, but here they are here. This is the Mark 85 underneath the Quantum Realm suits from Avengers Endgame. So not really too much to say about it. I do like the printing on the Quantum Realm suits. Like I mentioned before, I'm not one of the haters of the suits, but there's nothing too much to say about this since this is the Mark 85 underneath. Okay, well, before we move on, we actually have one more MCU figure to look at before we look at the comic book versions and the TV show versions. This is the only micro figure of Iron Man to ever be released to date, and this came in the Helicarrier set. And I'm pretty sure that this is meant to be the Mark 43 because it comes with the Helicarrier with the repulsors in it. I guess it could be the Mark 7 as well, but I think we're going to go with the Mark 43 since it is from an Age of Ultron set. And looking at it from behind, there's no printing on the back like all other micro figures. And you get a transparent stud there to put on the bottom to make it seem like he's actually flying. And this does make him a little taller than the rest of the figures, but I guess he is flying, so it is a little different. But definitely an interesting inclusion to be looking at here amongst all of the other minifigures that we get. Now then, on to the figure that I know that all of you came here to see, the Micro Fighter, and yeah, it's interesting. Anyways, this is the first ever version. This is the first ever figure to come with the Iron Man helmet piece that you see in front of you. I know that the Mark 1 used it, but that just came out this year. Anyways, this is a comic book version, I guess, of Iron Man, and this came in the Thanos Micro Fighter set. We looked at the Micro Fighter Thanos in another video. If you take the helmet off, you actually get some wacky Tony Stark printing underneath. I think that's pretty funny. Definitely interesting inclusion. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about this. Again, the printing is very simplistic. The band at the bottom carries over onto the back. And yeah, definitely interesting. This was the start of this piece though. And here he is in his invincible Iron Man armor. And this is definitely an interesting inclusion. Not really my cup of tea, but yeah, I don't think that this helmet really works well for Iron Man. In some instances it does, like with the Mark 1, I think it works. Even if they ever made a shotgun armor, which I talked about earlier, I think it would work well as there. The printing here is pretty good though, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm just so used to the dark red for Iron Man. It just looks too bright and in your face. But I guess that is what he's going for, right? Going for not so subtle. If you take the helmet off, you get the regular Tony Stark face there. I'm showing you this one because I honestly couldn't remember which one was underneath this one. I'm not too... this isn't high up on my list of favorite figures that has come out of the Marvel wave, but it exists, so here you go. Alright, there you have it, guys. That is a look at all of the Iron Man and Tony Stark figures that I have in my collection. I hope that you enjoyed me looking through this. I know this is going to be a long video. There's a lot of figures to go through. But anyways, everyone, what was your favorite in this video? Personally, I still have to go with this Tony Stark as being my favorite. Just the printing is fantastic. And that Silver Centurion one is just amazing. But in terms of nostalgia, My favorites for nostalgia-wise is this Tony Stark and the Iron Man poking his head out in behind Tony. So let me know down below which ones were your favorites. Also, which character do you want to see me take a look at next? I saw a lot of people asking for Thor and Hulk in the Thanos comparison video. So if you want to see me do one of those or someone else like Hawkeye or Black Widow, let me know down below as well. Let me know if you want to see a Hulkbuster one. Maybe that's another potential video in the future. And as always, guys, be sure to subscribe so that you can stay up to date with a lot of the comparison videos that I've got planned, as well as that Endgame CMF series that is in the works, so be sure to be one of the first people to view that. Anyways, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed the video and that you have a great day, and I will see you all in the next one.